The David White Show.
BBC Radio Cornwall.
It's coming up to 5:08. Hope you've had a good afternoon so far. Hasn't been too bad. Has it been fairly pleasant, I think, today? Well, how do you fancy getting out on your bike? Because that's what we're about to do next, because there's a PhD student at the University of Exeter who's called Veronica White, no relation, by the way, and she's become the face of a Sustrans campaign called Love the Little Red Sign.
Great, let's go. I'm Veronica White. I'm a first-year PhD student at the University of Exeter. I was born in the US, and then when I was 8 years old, we moved to the Netherlands, and my family didn't have a car, so cycling became such a part of my life. When I moved here, it was much more of a utilitarian use of cycling just to get to places where I needed to go. But then we discovered the National Cycle Network route out to Dawlish Warren and also to Exmouth. Suddenly, all around Exeter, there's so many more places to explore.
Yeah, amazing. And Veronica is with us on the show now. Hello, Veronica.
Hi, David. It's good to be back chatting to you again.
Yeah, nice to speak to you. So, look, you come from Holland, right?
So I was born in the US and raised in the Netherlands.
Okay, so the Netherlands, I think, has got two things. One, it's known to be pretty flat, and I think there's a lot of people cycling in the Netherlands. So how different is it there to here?
It's very different. I grew up in the Netherlands, and I used to cycle to school every day. I cycled around 8 kilometers round trip. And that was all very flat and entirely on cycle paths. So it's really incredible, the cycling infrastructure there. And then when I moved to the UK, I was really nervous about cycling on the roads. And so initially I just didn't really cycle that much until I learned about the National Cycle Network and the kind of networks of cycle paths that are available here. And it was by cycling on the National Cycle Network that I really started to build up my confidence of cycling in the UK. So transitioning from those cycle paths onto more country lanes and quieter roads. And now I'm hopefully going to be cycling across England next year for my PhD research. And that's all down to kind of the confidence that I've built up through cycling on the National Cycle Network.
Yeah, I'll get onto that in a moment. Why is it, do you feel, that Holland or the Netherlands is so far ahead of other countries when it comes to cycling? Is it just because it's really flat and everybody gets out on a bike?
I think that probably does help, but the weather in the Netherlands isn't any better than it is here. So we can't use that as an excuse here down in the southwest. It rains just as much in the Netherlands. And the people there will just put on a raincoat or cycle holding an umbrella. So I think there definitely are differences in the two countries. But I think there was a very big protest movement back, I think, in the 70s in the Netherlands that really helped actually transition the country towards more cycling infrastructure. And perhaps we need something like that here.
It's the hills that kill you here, though, Veronica, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah, it's very, very hilly down here in Devon. That's cycling on the roads and cycling on the hills were the two things I was most nervous about when I started cycling in Devon. And I've definitely built up a lot of strength since I started cycling properly here.
Have you been back to, I know you said you were born in America, but have you cycled in America? Have you been back there at all?
I've visited, but I haven't cycled there.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, I just didn't know what their network was like. Because, I mean, America's clearly vast, huge country, obviously. Okay, so let's get on to what you're doing now. How do you become the face of a campaign like this?
Yeah, so I basically, when I decided I wanted to do my PhD fieldwork by bike, I realized I want to be able to share this more widely. And so I started making cycling vlogs to share on YouTube. And started posting those on the Facebook group for the National Cycle Network. And it was through that Facebook group that I think I was noticed by Sustrans. And they reached out to me and basically asked if I wanted to be a part of this campaign. And I thought it's a great way of promoting my research, but also promoting the National Cycle Network. So I agreed. and their film crew came down to Exeter, and we had a full day of just like going around filming on campus and down at the quay, and that, yeah, it was great.
Where have you found around Exeter then? Have you found some nice places that you can cycle?
There's so many nice places around Exeter. So the kind of go-to is just cycling from Exeter along the Estuary Trail down to like Dawlish Warren. That's sort of like a very easy route to do just after work. But if I take my bike on the train, there's loads of other routes nearby. So like I love the route from Oakhampton to Lidford Gorge along the Granite Way on the edge of Dartmoor. That's really gorgeous. And then just this weekend, I cycled from Oakhampton to Newton Abbot, and that was on the National Cycle Network Route 28. And so there's just so many different places around the county that I've been able to explore on the National Cycle Network.
Do you think we're catching up with places like the Netherlands as far as our cycle network is concerned?
I think the National Cycle Network is a great resource that we have, and more people should be getting out onto these cycle paths and these routes. But I think there's still a long way to go before we reach the levels of cycling that we have in the Netherlands. And also just the public attitude towards cyclists, I think, needs to change a bit before we would be that positive a place for cyclists.
You wouldn't be talking about car drivers by any chance there, Veronica, would you?
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, you've just got to look at social media, and actually there's a real us and them as far as car drivers and cyclists is concerned, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely something that concerns me about my trip next year, just interacting with drivers. But having said that, all of the cycling that I've done to date, like on the National Cycle Network, I've never had or never felt unsafe because of drivers.
Right.
So that's a really positive thing.
So what are you going to be doing? You're basically doing research in the future farming, but you're heading off on your bike.
Yeah, so I realized if I wanted to reach rural communities, what's the best way of doing that? And so I've decided to do it by bike. So the plan is basically to cycle from Cornwall to Cumbria via Norfolk, which isn't exactly on the way.
Yeah, that's a straight route, that one, isn't it?
No. And basically stop along the way and talk to women in farming communities about their visions for the future of farming.
And what is the future of farming? Because there'll be a lot of people, won't there, listening now across the southwest, you know, who would have either worked in a farm, family used to own a farm, maybe still do own a farm, work in farming now. What is the future?
Well, that's what the research is going to find out, isn't it? The idea is basically that a lot of the time these visions of the future are produced by powerful companies and organizations and the government that already have a lot of kind of vested power in creating these stories. And so the idea is to go out to people who maybe don't have that power to create these visions and find out how do they imagine the future, and try and amplify those different visions so we have multiple different futures that we can work towards and not just a singular narrow idea of what the future might look like.
And actually, I think that's true in almost any business and maybe even any walk of life, isn't it? That there are people that make decisions who have no idea what's going on the shop floor, so to speak.
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
You know, and that'll be interesting to see what you find, actually.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And if any listeners here want to participate, do get in touch.
So you're you're leaving Cornwall and basically going up through Devon, turning right. For some reason, you're making a massive detour out to Norfolk, and then you're going to head on even further up to Cumbria.
Yeah, so I did my undergraduate degree at the University of East Anglia. So I'm hoping to go visit Norwich and go visit my old lecturers there. And also the main reason I'm going all the way out there is because obviously farming types differ across the country. So if I was just going to sort of go straight up towards Cumbria, then it would be a lot more kind of livestock, uplands farming. Whereas if I want those big arable farms, I need to sort of go out east. Yeah,
because it's a huge rural area in East Anglia, of course, as well, isn't it? You know, similar to here. So how long is this going to take?
I'm planning on taking around 3 months. So hopefully starting in mid-April and finishing early to mid-July.
Okay. All right. And then what do you do after getting a degree? I mean, what's your degree actually in?
So the title is a PhD in Sustainable Futures.
Okay. So then what does that lead on to as far as you're concerned?
That's a fantastic question, and I do not know. We're going to see how the research goes next year, see the kind of connections I make, and then from there I can decide if I want to try and stay in academia or kind of go beyond and do something else.
Have you ever worked on a farm?
I have volunteered on 4 different farms over the last few years. It was something that when I realized I wanted to go out and work with farmers, I thought actually it's really important for me to get some on-farm experience because I need to be able to empathize with kind of everything they're going through. So I've WOOFed, which is Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms, at 2 farms here in the UK. So one was in Suffolk and one was in Cornwall, actually. And then I volunteered on a floating farm in the Netherlands in the Rotterdam Harbor. It's actually a floating dairy farm.
A floating dairy farm? How does that work?
The cows basically live on the top level, and then right underneath it is the dairy. So I worked in the dairy, and then there's a ramp that the cows can go off and go into a field whenever they want. Right. So it's very, very futuristic. And then I also volunteered on my friend's farm in Gloucestershire and helped with lambing for a week earlier this year, and that was a really incredible experience.
Okay, and I need to, before you go, I've got to find out why somebody who was born in America and brought up in Holland is at the University of Exeter.
Yeah, so when I decided I wanted to do environmental science, the UK was the best option for that when I wanted to do my undergraduate degree. And then once I'd moved over here, I came to the University of Exeter for my master's in food security and sustainable agriculture. And it was through some of the connections I made here that I was then able to come back and do a PhD. Okay.
Well, good luck. And
thank you very much.
Good luck with your cycle ride. I hope you have better weather than we've had this summer.
I am also hoping that.
Because I don't think I've been fancy being on a bike this summer. It's been pretty grim most days, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been very wet this year.
Yeah. Well, let us know when you get back. Will you let us know what you find? Because I'm fascinated to find out what your research has told you.
Yeah, I'm very happy to come back and chat to you.
All right.
A year from now.
Yeah, a year from now, exactly. Okay. It's been great to talk to you, Veronica. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And good luck. And if you want to see Veronica and her bikes, by the way, you're on the campaign. You're everywhere, aren't you, on social media, on this Sustrans campaign. All right. Lovely to speak to you, Veronica. Thanks for coming on.